Hello everybody, welcome to Amazing You. I am your host, Rani Thanakudi. I am a certified clinical hypnotherapist using rapid transformational therapy method, life and relationship coach, breathwork coach, astrologer, and life force compassion practitioner. And today I have the great pleasure to introduce you all to Yulia Polyakina, who is a breathwork coach and is studying to become a compassion inquiry practitioner. Welcome, Yulia, to Amazing You.
Hello, Rani. It's a great pleasure to be here. Very excited.
Very excited to have you. And thank you for taking the time to speak to the audience today. And I'm sure they will get a lot from what you will share with them. So let's start, Yulia, with that first question. Tell us briefly about your story.
So my story begins in Russia.
Okay.
That's where I was born. My passport says that I was born in the USSR in the city of Leningrad, none of which are called that way anymore. St. Petersburg and Russia today.
Yes.
So my family immigrated from Russia to Cyprus in '95. And that's where I grew up, went to school.
Okay.
Yeah. And I guess to begin my story, when in my formative years, thinking about who I wanted to be,
Yes.
I always wanted to be like a detective or a journalist.
Okay.
Yeah. And well, my parents wanted something different. They wanted something stable, and to make sure that I was independent.
Yes.
And so detective work and journalism did not qualify as such. My parents said something like, only a few select people get to live off their passion, while others get to enjoy hobbies after work. And so, that was not a very helpful belief, but one that I had to, work on in later years and show to myself and others that it wasn't true, But as I was 18 and didn't know any better, I went on to study law, which was sort of the family's career of choice. And they said, you always like to argue. I think that will be good. You love a debate. Yeah, so I went to study law in France. It takes 7 years in France to become a lawyer. Yeah, which is what I did. And then I went to work in an international law firm in Paris, which is, I don't know if anybody has watched Suits. It's something like that.
Okay.
Very intense, very competitive, very, very long hours, but also, very rewarding in terms of the successes, financially rewarding. So that's something to keep somebody there for a while. Wow. So yeah, I stayed at the firm for 4 years, and and all of my surrounding people were like, "You're working too much, you're gonna get burnt out." And I didn't feel anything sort of physically on my body, but I was, noticing a really strong sense of like a meaninglessness. I didn't really see the point anymore in what I was doing. And and this is not to discredit a law career. I think it's still, a very rewarding thing to do, but I realized that my passion was human beings.
Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't know where to take it from there, but I knew I had to leave the job, which is what I did. And funny enough, that's when I also started my personal therapy, being very inexperienced, and my therapist was, trying hard to find different, alleys, pathways for me. And she mentioned breath work. And I remember at the time saying, "What? I'm not going to teach people how to breathe. That's ridiculous." But yeah, there I went on to become a breathwork coach and mentor, because, they say when the student is ready, the teacher comes. I found my amazing breathwork mentors who are based in North Cyprus. They have a school called Kayana.
Okay.
It's Lila Edward and Viola Edward and Michael de Glanville, who were my, precious, precious mentors in this, and helped me to really dive deep into myself and through the body, because I was so
Yes.
much in my mind coming from the
Yes.
law world
Yeah.
that talk therapy was not really doing it for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as you know, from somatic practices, breathwork as well, it
Yes.
just takes you right to it,
Yeah.
just that approach from the body outward. Yeah.
Thank you. It's very interesting when you talk about your journey, because I started as well with breathing with a breathwork coach, as a breathwork coach. And I found that, like you, this has helped me a lot to calm my nervous system, which I needed after having gone through various challenges in life. And this is the best way, I think, to start off, is doing the breathing, which does a lot of good to the body and to the nervous system. Yes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And interestingly enough, what I learned with breathwork is that it's something that doesn't go away, for me at least, this breath awareness.
Yes.
It's not something that I sort of just practice in the session until
Yeah.
next time. It's really, I started noticing my breathing when I'm holding my breath in traffic, or when I'm, having a difficult emotion, like, hang on a minute, I'm not breathing right now.
Yes. Yeah.
And then just opening up the breath. Yeah.
I think it helps us to come back to our body, to what we are feeling right now. That breathing really is a very, very powerful technique and techniques, because there are so many different types of breathing in that as well. Yeah.
Right. And it's, I call breath sort of a medicine that is
Yes.
inherently ours. It's free and it's
Yes.
always available to us.
That's so true. Yes. And Yulia, can you tell us what has inspired you to start this new endeavor that you've started these past few months? Tell us more about it.
Yeah. So, well, I was a breathwork coach and really enjoying supporting people through breathwork.
Yes.
Then the pandemic happened,
Yes.
and I found for myself personally, I wasn't really able to take my breathwork practice online,
Mm-hmm.
just because of maybe the type of breathwork that I do, conscious connected breathwork, which
Yes.
meant I would like to see the whole body of the person when they're breathing,
Yes.
to make sure I can really be there to support them, hold
Mm-hmm.
their hand if needed, wipe their tears, really, have that kind of presence. So yeah, I wasn't really able, nobody was willing to breathe with you in a room during the pandemic, for sure.
Yes.
That was the last thing people would be ready to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came across Gabor Maté.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, I sometimes people post so many things on Facebook, and here I see 1.5 hour long talk by a guy I don't know,
Yeah.
and something really called me to it,
Mm-hmm.
and I watched, and and then I started reading his books, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. And then what do you know, there's a training to
Yes.
learn to
Yeah.
do what he does. I signed up the moment I found out about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
um and what really inspired me is the depth of the work.
Mm-hmm.
I myself like to work in a very deep and profound way to really
Yes.
uncover the layers for myself and other people to get to the truth
Yes.
of ourselves. And I feel like compassionate inquiry really does that.
Yeah.
And I guess it also combines with my little detective in me, because it's an
Yes. Yeah.
inquiry and we get to ask questions, which I love.
Yes. This is a great way for you to use your detective side, because it is about asking questions all throughout the session. So you are now able to do what you want, Yulia, even if your family didn't want that for you. But here it is. Here you are on your path, on your journey, and that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. One of my teachers calls compassionate inquiry an archaeological dig,
Yes.
because what we do is we're just, you know, taking out all this material that was there and uncovering the treasure that's underneath.
Yeah. And now you're doing an even more beautiful job because you're helping the individuals themselves to rediscover themselves, some part of themselves that have been suppressed or repressed, you know? So,
Right, exactly. Yeah. And this is what I like also, in compassionate inquiry, if I compare it to other talk therapies, is that
mhm,
it's not about me knowing anything for the client or me telling them anything. It's really about me just supporting them and finding
yes,
their own answers, which they all have.
yes, yes. That's so
Yeah.
true. Thank you. And tell us, Yulia, what has been for you the greatest challenge in your life and how did you overcome it?
Um, if I were to pick a challenge which I have overcome, it would probably be sort of the switch from my law career to
Okay.
what I'm doing now. Yeah, I started off as I was contemplating leaving my job,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yes.
just, thinking, oh my gosh, this is the only thing I know how to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any other skills.
Mm.
How am I going to survive? All of these fears really coming up.
Yes.
Um, yeah. And how, to overcome it, I think what helped me was really taking some time off to make a clean slate. I went traveling, which,
Okay.
I had the luxury to do that,
Yes.
which I, really privileged to have been able to do that. But, I didn't take an easy travel. I went to some really remote areas of Colombia, Peru, the
Okay.
Himalayas.
All
I
right.
really went for the big nature,
Mm.
communing with the nature, and working with people there. I've worked with shamans in Peru.
Okay.
Um, yeah, to really allow myself to go deep within
Mm.
and taking off that, fighting off this, you have to decide now what you're going to do, you know
Yeah.
and people's questions about, so when are you getting a job, and
Right.
all of those things, and to make my transition a bit smoother towards what I'm doing now, I opened my own law practice where I thought, this is where I'm going to be in control. I'm going to take in the clients that I would like to take, the amount of work I'd like to take. And that was really helpful to me as well, to not think, okay, well, now that I've left, I really have to, you know, transform 360, and yeah,
Yes.
really making it a gradual transition. Yeah.
What a great journey you've been on. You've been on to several Latin American countries and traveling and meeting the shamans. And so, what has this whole experience taught you?
This whole experience taught me to really listen to myself,
Right.
you know.
Okay. Mm.
Um,
Yes.
if there is a sense in me that something needs to change or something is not working,
Yeah.
ignoring it or pretending like it's not there is not gonna make it go away,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And the longer I don't attend to it, the more it will come out in less pleasant ways, through the body.
Yes.
Yeah, so to really listen to myself, really pay attention.
Mm. That's amazing. Thank you. Yeah. So tell us from your journey and your experience in life, who has been the most influential person in your life and why?
Um, well, a lot of people. I wouldn't want to leave
Okay.
anybody out, but I guess in terms of, me, in terms of my becoming, moving into the world of therapy,
Yes.
I would say it's my breathwork mentors, Lila and Viola Edward.
Okay.
And one of the reasons, besides all their teachings, was their power to see my strength, even in the
Right.
moment where I was coming with
Mhm.
my not feeling well, with all my negative beliefs, with my anxiety, they would still manage to see something that is working,
Mhm.
you
Something
know.
greater than you couldn't see.
Exactly. Yeah. Just, shifting also, not making it, like, oh, you have to be grateful for what you have, not in that
Yes,
sense, but really making me aware of my resources that I do have. And
yes,
we all do have them. And maybe in dark times they may
yeah,
not be so obvious.
yeah,
But they're there, and having someone maybe mirror them back to you is very helpful. Yeah.
yes. You
Yeah.
are very lucky to have that mentor to guide you on that journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, what are the three qualities that you admire most in that person, Yulia?
The qualities that I admire most is a really powerful joy for life. And
Okay,
I mean, really, they're uh, now in their 60s, and they have been through war and all sorts of hardships. And through that, they've managed to have this incredible light and joy for life. So that is
mm-hmm.
something that I really admire.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes,
I really admire their healthy boundaries. That is something that was, the way I saw them interact with the world and with
yes,
people, that really showed me how, you can have these loving boundaries, which will help you preserve that joy for life. Yeah. And and their depth, you know,
okay,
as
mm-hmm.
well. Yeah.
Right, okay, thank you. And what quote has helped you to cope in challenging times, Yulia?
I actually looked on the internet whether this was a real quote, but
Okay,
this is just something, one of my shamans in Peru, who's sadly passed away, um, told me this. He said, "One day you're going to miss something about today."
right,
And to me, in a really challenging day or
yes,
time, I think about that, and I think, yeah, maybe everything is terrible, but there will be something that I could miss about this day. The house
yes,
I'm living in, my dog, anything, a part of me that's healthy.
yeah.
Yeah. So that has been helpful to me.
Mm. I think it's a great quote because when you think about it, it's like you once it's gone that day, you can't go back to that day that you can't go back to yesterday. It will just be a memory from now on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can just look at it, reflect on it, but you can never leave it again once it's gone. Yeah,
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
that's true. That's why it's important to enjoy every moment of each day, whether it's good or whether it's bad, because even in the bad, there is something good for us.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And maybe I may, that also lets me know that, sometimes we can focus on the bad so much that we may
Yes,
not even notice what else we have, and what is
yes,
that one thing? What is that one thing that I could miss about
yeah,
today?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you. And what would you say, Yulia, to give hope to people who are facing some challenging times, who are listening and watching today? What would you like to tell them?
I would like to tell them that whatever is happening to them, it makes sense.
Mm,
No matter how confusing or distressful it may be, it makes sense.
mm,
And what I would, as an offering of, or a suggestion, I would say to really, in line with what we were saying,
yes.
to just scan and check what could be your resources,
Mm,
internal, the breath, or any part of the body that feels like a resource,
mm,
or any sensation that could be a resource. And also to check what are your external resources,
mm.
a friend, a place outside, an activity, and really just become aware of those. and use them in that challenging moment.
Okay. Right. So it's not only about becoming aware, but also asking for help and using them in that moment
Absolutely.
of need. Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
absolutely.
I think you are very correct to say that, because in those moments we are just so deep into our own issue, and we don't think that other people will listen, or we don't feel confident enough to ask for help. And that's a key to getting help, to getting healed, to overcoming whatever challenge we are facing. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, I would also invite people to, in a challenging moment, if you don't have it in you to ask for help,
Yeah.
don't make yourself wrong about it.
Yeah.
You know, if in this moment the resource that you have is the ability to write about it,
Yes.
try that on. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. And would you tell us now, Yulia, what book has influenced you the most, and in what way?
So the two books, I guess,
Okay.
that I would highlight, one would be The Body Keeps the Score by
Yes.
Bessel van der Kolk,
Yeah.
which a lot of people may be familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and that goes to what I said earlier about me, you, everybody making sense.
Yes.
You know, we may think that the body is, you know, what is it doing? There's something wrong, but actually, that's not the case. You know, there's implicit memories. There are parts of us that are trying to take us to our truth. And that book is also so resourceful in terms of everything that is available. And it's so profound in terms of all the modalities that can be, you know, used in each and every moment. You know, whether it be yoga, EMDR,
Yes.
um, talk therapy, all of this being available just really opened my eyes
Ye-
to, yeah, absolutely.
Yes. It is a great book. I not only read it, but I also had the opportunity to be on that course of that book that Bessel van der Kolk gave about that whole
Wow.
book. Oh, it was during the pandemic. It was an amazing experience. It was 2 or 3 days workshop he gave. He covered the whole book. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yes,
Yes.
it is. It is really amazing about all the various techniques that people can use to overcome their issues, their emotional and physical issues. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So I kind of keep it as that's sort of my Bible, you know?
Yes. Yeah. And what is the other book that you say?
Yes, and the other book is When the Body Says No by Gabor
Okay.
Maté,
Yes.
which again is, you know, sort of in line with listening to the body and
Mhm.
noticing. And, you know, as Gabor would sometimes ask people if they're having a dis-ease or something going on, you know, what is your body saying no to?
Mhm. Yes.
That being a very, you know, powerful question for me. And the way in that book he so compassionately explores what is a disease trying to tell a person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how has that been actually a coping mechanism?
Yeah.
How has that served maybe in a not obvious way, but as a protection for that person? Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. So now would you tell us, Yulia, about what you do and how can people reach out to you and contact you, Yulia? And if you have a
Yeah.
link, an email that you can share with us today, feel free to tell us.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, I'm a breathwork coach, but I live in Cyprus. So, if anybody would like a breathwork session in person, I would be very happy to offer that.
Right.
Otherwise, I offer sessions of compassionate inquiry through Zoom.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. I'm currently still a student, so I offer 3 free sessions to a person in exchange for recording, and then I offer sort of a reduced rate for people who would like to continue doing compassionate inquiry with me. And I'm always available via email, which is my name, Yulia, Yulia, Polyakina, my surname, Polyakina @gmail.com.
Thank you very much, Yulia, for taking your time today to share your story and what you do to the audience and to everybody listening and watching. And I would like to wish you a lot of success in going ahead with your work and in completing your course and to become an amazing practitioner.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure.
And it was a great, great pleasure and honor to be in your presence, to be talking to one of Gabor Maté's students. So I am very honored. Thank you so much.
Thank you.